the official MoonWilly.com podcast, your source for news and updates from the hottest token in DeFi. Here's your host, the voice of DeFi, Steven.
Everybody, do you like gaming? And do you like blockchain? Do you like NFTs? And if you like gaming, do you like to actually be able to own the things that you purchase in the game? Well, if all that's the case for you, then today's the AMA for you. I had a great AMA today with Michael Wagner, the co-founder and CEO of Star Atlas, a new game based on the Solana blockchain. And man, it really blew my mind about what a metaverse can be and what his vision for his and his team's vision for the Star Atlas game is. So if you're interested in blockchain gaming, then this may be the AMA for you. What is up, everybody? It's Steven, the voice of DeFi, and I am excited today. We've had a lot of people come here through AMAs. We've talked a lot about different topics in the crypto world, in the blockchain world, and we've even talked about gaming before and blockchain gaming. But today we're going to hear it firsthand from Michael Wagner, the co-founder and CEO of Star Atlas, a very, very ambitious project you can see a lot of it. You can just go to staratlas.com and be able to see it. But we're going to be able to hear it from Michael Wagner, the co-founder and CEO himself today. And I'll ask him a few questions at the end of the AMA. We'll throw it to you, the community, where you can ask a few questions. And if one of your questions is selected by him, then Moon Willie will pay you $20 in DAI rewards for having your question selected. So it's going to be a fantastic AMA. It's really a great person to talk with and really a great project. Michael, are you there?
Hey, Steven, voice of DeFi, and what a great voice that is, man. That was a great intro.
Hey, thanks. I always try to pump you guys up and make sure everybody understands just who we're speaking with. So, yeah, I appreciate you saying that. So, yeah, I ask this question almost as I start off every AMA is I just want to know kind of a little bit of background. How'd you get started in crypto? You know, education in the space seems to come from experience. And then on top of that, kind of my second part of the question is, are you a gamer? You know, how did these all form? We're going to slowly go towards how this became Star Atlas. But tell me how you got involved in crypto and then also how you got involved in gaming.
Yeah, of course, man. I guess let me actually start with gaming, just because I have longer history there. But man, I've just grown up around really computer gaming, I'd say, more formally, but back to the Nintendo days, right? So every console system from Nintendo through I don't even know what the last one I had was. Maybe a PS3 was the last time I played console. But from my early kind of junior high and high school years, I was involved in a group that was called the Lanarchists. So, this is back in the 90s when multiplayer or not multiplayer, but broadband internet was not widely available. And so one of the only methods you could use to kind of multiplayer game was to bring all of your big computers over to someone's house. And that's how we spent almost every weekend, so playing everything from like Doom, Half-Life was big, Tribes, Counter-Strike, StarCraft, and the list kind of goes on. And I personally was a really big fan of it most, looking at games like Asheron's Call was one of my first. EverQuest was in there, World of Warcraft, Dark Age of Camelot, Warhammer Online. So just a bunch of gaming and thousands of hours that I've spent in games myself, but always as an enthusiast, right? Not as a game developer.
Sure.
And then kind of like taking that to the crypto entry point, it was pretty long ago. And I love your comment about the fact that, learning in crypto right now is so much about experience, because even though it's been around, right, for a little over 10 years now with the advent of Bitcoin and the technology underlying that, which is the blockchain, there's so much information to try to absorb, and it's so dynamic and innovative, right? And so, since 2013, I've spent virtually all of my time dedicated to crypto, many, many long days. And my entry there was really through GPU mining of script coins. And so, early days Bitcoin mining, like Feathercoin, Litecoin, all of these forks off of Bitcoin. And it was really bad timing. I say this a lot. It was really bad timing because I caught the tail end of the 2013 hype cycle or bull cycle. I bought a bunch of equipment. I had it all rigged up around my house. And then, Mt. Gox collapse, crypto collapsed, and we entered into this horrible bear cycle for 2 years. So while the investment in the crypto mining equipment wasn't profitable, the benefit that I'm adamant about today is that it fascinated me and captured my attention about the potential of the technology. And so, that bear cycle was actually one of the best opportunities to learn everything, because all of the noise, surrounding things going on in crypto had died down. And so these bear cycles tend to be, fantastic times to not only build a project, but also learn as much as you can about crypto and not feel the pressure and the FOMO of like being involved in every single thing that's popping off. So beyond that, multi-time founder. So I actually went full-time crypto in 2015 and gave up a formal career as a institutional and private net worth portfolio manager and investment and securities analyst, so traditional finance space. But went full-time crypto, gave up my career, focused entirely on building, and launched my first company in 2016. That company's still around today, and we're doing some fun things with it. But it's a crypto and cannabis company that's called Togs. And so, one of the major, I'd say, benefits to me of launching that company was that I met two people who went on to co-found Star Atlas with me, and that's Danny Floyd, our chief product officer, and Jacob Floyd, our chief technology officer. Rounding out the executive leadership team and co-founding team is Pablo Quiroga, who is our chief revenue officer. So it was, I can't even describe how fortunate I feel to have been connected with this group of people. Feels like we're really a dream team in terms of how we can execute and complement one another's specialties. But in mid 2020, just following along with tracking what was happening in DeFi and NFTs, which was primarily collectible art focused at the time, and then also seeing this advent of a nascent industry in blockchain gaming. And what we had determined, being all gamers ourselves and understanding the types of games that we like to play, we saw a real opportunity to create a transformative gaming experience at the highest quality level. So developing out a AAA quality game. In our case, Star Atlas is this space-themed, massively multiplayer online game consisting of space exploration, territory control, political domination, and it's all wrapped in this grand strategy theme. And so mid 2020, we started conceptualizing this. We got our white paper drafted. We started approaching some other protocols and potential partners. I guess, looking back, maybe not surprisingly, but there was a tremendous amount of interest in what we had conceptualized from the earliest days. And so, early 2021 in January, we made our formal announcement or debut to the public after closing a seed round with for token purchases from the group behind FTX and Alameda Research and Project Serum. And the rest is kind of history, man. So I'm sure we'll get into that while we're chatting.
Yeah, absolutely. So you answered that real well, because there was definitely two things that you needed to cover, and that is, crypto, why you were involved in blockchain and finances and things like that, as well as, gaming. And it sounds like, I like how you answered the gaming part first, because it sounds like at its heart, that's kind of your roots. You said you had the NES, and that's me. That's my generation too. I loved my NES, played a fair amount of Mario and Double Dragon and all that kind of stuff. And then you turned that into, you were in kind of the finance industry, and you were mining and that sort of thing. But one thing that's common, I think, by a lot of founders is once you did dip your toe in the water, whether it was good timing, bad timing, bull market, bear market, you knew you didn't want out of the pool. Once you got in, you wanted to stick around, and you were able to use a lot of this gaming experience. And it sounds like some people that you knew that you had met along the way, whether it be Danny Floyd or Jake Floyd or whoever, that really wanted to, see your vision. And with Star Atlas, man, it's a big vision. And we're going to get into that shortly, because this is a really ambitious project. It really, really is. And I'm going to ask about your team here in a moment, but let's start talking about Star Atlas a little bit. It's an ambitious concept. It's an MMO, just like you said. It's it's this intergalactic, where you can choose I don't want to say factions. I'm going to say the wrong term, but you can choose, who you're associated with and what your, political factions and things like that. Did you and the rest of your contemporaries just sit in a room or online and kind of come up with this idea? How did it evolve into something that is so big and encompassing, and then wanting to put it on the blockchain on top of that?
Yeah, what's kind of funny is it almost started as just a kind of back burner fun topic to discuss. So again, this was mid 2020, and the hype around utility driven NFTs or GameFi assets didn't exist, right? So we were still focused on what we were doing at Tokes, and obviously the team and I connect regularly, and so just in one of those conversations, we started talking about, this seems like there's some real potential here. And I think what made it explode and evolve so quickly is just the passion in particular that Danny and Jacob have for gaming and game design. I mean, Danny's background really was historically in AAA game development, working on games like Earth and Beyond back in, with EA Studios in the early 2000s. That was like a space massively multiplayer online game that launched in 2003. So we were focused on building out this software as a service suite for the legal cannabis industry. But I could tell as soon as we started talking about it that the passion, and Danny and Jacob both, it really was ignited, right? And so we started putting more and more energy into it and drafting up the white paper. And of course, just working pretty closely with one another to ensure that we could create something that would be really fun first and foremost, something attractive to a mainstream gaming audience, and something that could truly stand on its own feet with or without the financial incentives through blockchain. So that is still 100% our priority. We also understand and support the human empowerment that is possible through this GameFi concept, the play to earn concept, and so it just seemed like a natural marriage. Having spent countless hours in games, traditional gaming I essentially describe as kind of it's an extractive kind of ecosystem or cost or expense based ecosystem, which is completely fine. That's just the legacy way of doing it. But you're kind of renting time inside a traditional game environment, right? You own the asset while you're there, while you're playing. You get to enjoy that. You get entertainment value and escapism value out of gameplay. But once you spend the money with the game design studio or the developer, there's no way to, you're not getting that money back. If you stop playing the Division 2 or something, right? They're not going to refund you the amount of money that you spent to purchase the title. But in blockchain gaming, you actually own fundamentally every single one of the assets that you're engaged with. Now, of course, you have to spend money to purchase those assets or spend time in the game to be able to earn those and build wealth. But if you ever decide in the future that you want to stop playing, you have immediate liquid decentralized marketplaces where you can sell those items to other players directly on a peer-to-peer basis. And so that was the first transformation, was moving from this expense-based economy to an ownership-based economy. And so, really quickly on our NFTs, which, as I said, are all utility-driven and have some form of intrinsic value simply because there's the potential to earn income off of them. Include things like all of your ships and your crew members and even skins, components, modules, the land that you purchase and own, the buildings and structures you place on that land. Everything essentially that exists within the Star Atlas universe, or we could talk about Star Atlas Metaverse, is something that the player actually owns and possesses the ability to generate income off of. So that was what was, super exciting. And then we started considering, how do we, develop out the token economy so that we could introduce things like governance through the Polis token, and what is the unit of account that we for the medium of exchange within the universe. And so that's Atlas, right? And but beyond that, we also saw this huge potential in DeFi to further empower the player to compound earnings that they make. So that's one of the, I guess, big evolutions that I think we're bringing, is that once players earn income through Star Atlas, they're kind of crypto native. So we're probably going to be seeing this mass migration and mass adoption of traditional gamers who are typically quite savvy, moving into the crypto space to interact with our economy. And now they already possess digital currencies, digital assets, which they can interact with on DeFi protocols across Solana or across Ethereum or across any layer one protocol where a bridge exists. And so earn some money in Star Atlas, but rather than cash that out and move it into a traditional bank account that pays you nothing, move it into a DeFi pool or a liquidity pool where you can generate 20% or 30% or 300% per year on your money, just letting it sit in the liquidity pool. So we see this as like a great tool for financial empowerment for people all over the world to compound, grow their wealth.
Man, I love that. Whenever I think about it, I told you I'm an OG gamer too. And whenever I got like a great sword in Zelda and, I used it and it was great and I dominated with it. But whenever I turned off and hit the power button or didn't have the save feature in it, or let's just say I gave up the game, moved on to something else, it was gone. That asset was gone. And I wasn't able to then sell it back and get, true, real world blockchain spendable currency. And this sounds like this is what you're doing. Let me go to another step. It is even possible, am I right, with if they own these assets to, if you came out with another game, and I know I'm way down the line here, another game besides Star Atlas,
video chat is recorded.
Okay, I don't know what that was. If you actually had a different game, you would be able to, these assets would be transferable to other games that you made, correct? Because you truly owned that asset, that NFT. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's 100% correct. And I don't want to be misleading. We are maintaining pretty tight control over the game design and kind of release of features and asset integration and, the ability for content creators to contribute in the short term, right? Our roadmap is essentially decentralized over time. But what's really cool about crypto and blockchain in general is that with or without our permission, people could take these assets and implement them into another game concept, right? It all lives on chain. It's purely decentralized protocol, and the player does actually own it. So if some other game developer wants to take one of our assets and build a game around it, we can't, nor would we want to prevent that from happening. And the result of that is that you empower a whole new generation of like creators with or without the Star Atlas metaverse itself, right? So like everything we're doing just splinters off into myriad opportunities for people to create around it. And it becomes the foundation for something else that can be built that we don't even have to conceptualize ourselves. It's just now it's a new opportunity for somebody else to go out and build around the initial innovation that we introduced to the world.
Man, that is really neat. And I didn't even think about that you're saying just other developers. I was thinking, your own in-house developers. But yeah, you're right. It's decentralized. Why wouldn't they be able to? And that's fantastic. I think as I hear how you came up in this, you had talks, you met a lot of people, you had a lot of different things that you did. I think you were incredibly early on this gaming thing. If you would have thought that you were, just a little late to the party whenever you were GPU mining, man, I really think you are right here and actually one of the groundbreakers now for blockchain-based gaming, because this seems revolutionary. I think exactly what you said is correct in that all of these gamers that are playing, your regular non-blockchain style games, eventually they are going to migrate to blockchain style games for exactly the reason we've said. They want to be able to own those assets. They want to be able to own them, let them even, let them earn money from them, earn currency from them. And there would be no reason for them to, play a traditional style game eventually. So I think you are incredibly early on this. Now, on your website or even on your Twitter bio, it says that you create, play, and learn with others globally. Can you expound on that thought a little bit? I get how you can create, I get how you can play, but even learn, is this just basically where you could converse, talk with other people, and kind of learn about this new world? Because there will be a little bit of an education curve, I would think.
Definitely a learning curve for many, many reasons, but crypto, to be honest, we are all still early. Anybody sitting in on this call right now is still early. And you can't, I mean, maybe you can't imagine how many times I've heard over the years that, I missed the boat on Bitcoin, right? Like I already missed it, but I watched it go from $50 to $100, from $100 to $1,000, back down to $200, breaking, 2017, breaking up to $20,000, and then back down to $3,000. I've seen this cycle so many times now. And every time somebody tells me they're late to Bitcoin, I'm like so fervent in communicating to them that everything we're doing right now is still the earliest stages of adoption, right? So even though Bitcoin is as expensive as it is now, and crypto in general is kind of like getting some more mainstream notoriety, this is like the earliest phases of this next technological revolution, I would say. And so, everybody here is in a very fortunate spot just to be participating in any way possible. Now, as a result of being super early, things don't work as nice and seamlessly and conveniently as we would always like them to, right? I mean, I can't tell you how many times, again, historically for me, trying to participate in what I saw as an opportunity, and that goes all the way back to like GPU mining. I had no experience operating or working in Linux at the time that I started getting involved in crypto. And yet that was the requirement, right? You had to run a Linux machine. You had to compile these miners. And I figured it out because the opportunity existed. People around the world are going to figure it out because there is financial incentive within Star Atlas to do so. But not only that, there's an opportunity for other people to educate on our behalf. The beauty of decentralization, man, it's amazing. And these people could create entire business models around that if they wanted to, or maybe they just want to help their friends learn how to play because they want to rise together, right? And so people will learn together. People are already forming guilds. They're already forming strategy. They're determining which allocation of ships they want to purchase so that they complement and synergize with one another. So all of these things just means that we have all of this mental effort going into optimizations and efficiency within Star Atlas, but that will transcend through to the general crypto ecosystem, and more people understanding crypto is, clearly optimal or better for the success of crypto overall.
So, professional gamers, that's, a new term that's came out the last few decades. Do you really think people will be able to play Star Atlas and just, get very good, do very well and be able to bring in a fair amount of income from playing?
100%. We're putting okay. So I said that the fun gaming experience was really priority number one, and that's true. Sure. We have a vision for Star Atlas, though, that could lead to it living on effectively into perpetuity. So most games, right, you kind of, it takes several years to develop. It gets released to the public. It has a lifespan where people are actually enjoying playing it. With Star Atlas, because of our ethos of moving towards decentralization, where players will actually get to contribute to the evolution of the product and external parties will ultimately get to create content around it, it means that the game never really has to die, if you can even call it a game at that point, right? I like to think of it as this living, evolving public utility for which anybody can get involved. And so not only will people be able to earn within Star Atlas, and I'm sorry, I actually just ran off on a tangent there, but getting back to your point about
no, you're fine.
Play and earn, is the second kind of core pillar of making sure that this is the type of product that can live on forever is a fully functional and sustainable economy. So that's probably the second highest priority. And my primary focus is ensuring that we design a system with a lot of balance that allows for people to not only extract value from Star Atlas, which is, initially bootstrapped through our emission of Atlas and Pulse tokens. So not only that, but how do people contribute back in innovative ways that actually creates value for the ecosystem for everyone? And, through that type of experimentation and implementation, they can actually find alternative means to derive income from other players. So, just for example, you might not want to engage in gameplay like, going on the attack or PvP or dominating new lands. You might be perfectly content purchasing an outpost somewhere deep in space where you operate a fueling station and you happen to be at a convenient point where a lot of travelers are passing through. So when they stop at your station and they refuel their ship, you actually collect some revenue off of them, utilizing the asset that you've created, the business that you've created. Now, these people, are effectively employed by Star Atlas or by the Metaverse as an entrepreneur for one, but a gas station operator in a Metaverse, and that could be their daily job, right? They might just hang out in VR or 3D space as we develop this out in Unreal Engine and purely operate some type of business model. Now, other players are paying them. That means we don't have to, over time, we can reduce the emission that comes out as a subsidy, reduce the inflation across the entire economy, and yet everybody is still able to freely exchange value. And that I think is what's going to lead to the longer term success of the Metaverse concept.
That blows my mind. So you could actually have people have a profession inside the Metaverse that has nothing to do with battling or, fighting anybody else. It literally could be, maybe this is a tangent in and of itself, but I always heard, in a gold rush, sell picks and shovels. And so same kind of idea, right? Is, somebody out there is going to sell, in your example, fuel or, maybe some other, piece of property that could be used. And that could be basically what they do within Star Atlas, right? Is just be in there, be in chat and be present in there. That blows my mind because there are so many possibilities. And whenever you said this could go into perpetuity, I'm starting to see your vision there where it could do that because, wow, there are so many things that literally your grandpa could do if they wanted to, if they had a little help with being, set up where it would really change the way that gaming is done now. I mean, and even now in where, you play non-blockchain based gaming, but it's still very internet based, the chats go on, all that, but being able to sell assets. And like you said, the emissions would go down and eventually it would be self-sustaining from other players. That's really groundbreaking. That really I see Kevin, the founder of the Moon Willie token, says he'll sell oil. So he's already strategizing on how he's going to do it. He wants to be the bank. So everybody's already getting their idea of how they can last in the in this world. Hey, can you die in Star Atlas if I run a shop and sell oil? Can somebody rob me?
Great question. And so the way we've defined the universe, at least initially, is that there are three separate factions that are kind of constantly warring with one another. And the borders will expand and contract based on the player activity. The player activity within each of the factions, but also the economic activity between them. So now across those three factions, we also have this concept of security zones. And so when you first land into the game, we want it to be a relatively safe space for players. And what you end up with is a neutral zone where you can learn how to navigate, learn the controls, and kind of just learn how to play. That extends out into a border where there's a medium risk zone where there is open PvP, but it's kind of, let's call it lower risk PvP. It's non-permanent death, and you can just respawn and repair your ship and be off and running again. But we also have the high risk zone, and we've coined this term of play for keys, the underlying cryptographic keys. And if this is hardcore mode, so if you actually die out in deep space, your NFT is going to be destroyed. It will be burned off chain. And we can accomplish that because entering into deep space requires you to sign a transaction that transfers your assets into an escrow smart contract. And so, depending on the outcome of your time in deep space, we're able to destroy those assets and redistribute actually some of the call it salvageable items off of whoever lost out to the player who won the engagement. So technically, yes, you can die. There is permanent death as well. And then I'll take this one step further and say this isn't a mechanic that we've introduced yet, but we're strongly considering having aging, real life, real aging on characters and avatars exist within the game. And so, it's all just kind of time-stamped based, and your crew members will go from, young age to essentially dying, right? And we can even introduce procreation in the game where you're taking crew members and kind of like, giving birth to new babies, new metaverse babies inside Star Wars.
Finally I can get a date. Yeah. So that sounds good. The aging thing blows my mind. That is until they buy a pill from me that slows down the aging process or reverses the aging process, right? Because I'm gonna create this, and that's gonna be my little niche is pills that will reverse the aging process. Anyway, yeah. So it sounds it sounds like literally, and I know you've already went through all these things, all the different possibilities that are possible in this metaverse. And I'm starting to get where some of the things you're saying, I'm like, oh my goodness, you really could. It really is a metaverse. It really is another world. And everybody's going to have to change their mindset of what even gaming is, in my mind. So one thing I want to bring up, and I know this isn't what this AMA is about, but your website is absolutely amazing. And if you guys haven't seen it, go to staratlas.com and check it out. It's got you don't even realize it's an eye at first, but there's this eye and you click onto it and then you go into it. It's an amazing website. Is this the level of quality I can expect within the game as well?
Absolutely, man. I mean, thank you, by the way, for the compliment. I mean, that was a website that was in the works for 4 months. It's difficult to sit on something like that. We see it in development and we know what it's going to look like and what the experience the user should encounter when they land on that page. And we leaked nothing, right? We sat on that for 4 months while it was in development. And I think it's too easy oftentimes for companies just to try to tease out content and material. And I think we've been accused of being opaque or evasive, which obviously, I'm out here talking to people all the time. So we're very transparent, but part of the experience of Star Atlas is that we're delivering best in class across every component that you would interact with us on, right? So from the website to the cinematic teaser trailer, by the way, both of those were launched on August 24th and to overwhelming positive responses. But we're doing it on the website. We're doing it with the trailer releases, whether it be studio in-engine trailer releases or cinematic trailer releases, gameplay footage when it's out there, the way that we interact with the community and involve the community. I mean, everything we're doing is meant to be both inclusive, but absolutely it should be the best possible experience. We sacrifice on nothing to ensure that what users encounter with us is going to be not only visually attractive, but exciting, entertaining, and enjoyable.
Okay. I mean, that actually makes me feel even more excited because I love your website. And obviously I can wrap my mind around what a cool website looks like. It's hard to wrap my mind around a metaverse just yet, but I'm getting there. But I know what looks good and that website looks good. And if we can expect, like you said, you've had some teaser videos and whatnot, and you can see the quality. This is not just going to be, 8-bit metaverse. This looks really, really, really good. So as you mentioned, everybody's seen it and everybody's, they see how transparent you are. Your community has really grown a lot the last few months. Are you doing anything to get the word out as far as marketing, or is most of this growth come organically? Where does a lot of this growth that you've seen the last few months come from?
We're doing just starting to do a little bit of traditional advertising across things like Google AdWords, but with respect to the community growth, it has been entirely organic. We've worked a lot with various groups, just like being here in this channel talking about the product, but also other key thought leaders and opinion leaders in the space, and influencers, if you want to call them that. I have no problem saying that we've worked with various leaders in the community to communicate what this product ultimately will become, right? Because what we're trying to do is share the vision today, and we need to get the message out that this is what we can accomplish collectively if we work towards this, and that's been very, very successful. I mean, our Discord grew by something like 20,000 members over the last week. And I think that kind of followed or was leading up to the launch of our Galactic Asset offering. So through our decentralized marketplace, fully integrated with Serum DEX. Serum is a decentralized exchange protocol that lives on Solana, the protocol that we build on. But through our portal, which is play.staratlas.com, we started selling some of those initial NFTs. So on Tuesday, we had 5 ships that we released. And they're split, they're divided up so that we released 1 ship every hour for those 5 hours. But tonight we actually have another 4 ships coming out. So if you're getting intrigued, I would recommend checking out play.staratlas.com. You'll see the inventory of all ships that are available from us on the marketplace. And you'll be able to participate. And we have ships that started at $15. We have ships that will be on sale for greater than $5 million, right? We're catering to everyone. And one quick point on those large ships, just because I don't think people fully understand that this is not like a whale game, and it's not necessarily, we didn't design those ships for a single player. And we didn't design the game, for that matter, for a single player to be able to own everything and kind of like max level, right? Max out their account. Those ships are designed for our guild system, which is decentralized autonomous corporations. Like they can serve as a home base, a floating home base for hundreds of players or thousands of players. And, we have a great relationship with Yield Guild Games, with Gabby and crew. And that, they have 50,000 gamers in Yield Guild Games right now. So we've designed the biggest items or the most expensive items for those aspiring players who want to form a collective and accomplish something in collaboration with others in the game. And the interest is there. We're already seeing it. We're already seeing these ships sell like this. So the big idea is to get people just collaborating with one another, right?
Just pooling their resources, right? Maybe I can't. If it was Star Wars, I can't afford a Star Destroyer, but maybe me and several thousand of my other buddies could. That sounds really cool. And $5 million. You're blowing my mind with levels of layers of this that I haven't even considered yet, but I know you guys have, and you can see that. And as far as your community growth, y'all have grown quite a bit, but I think it's good that you're growing organically for the most part right now, because traditional gaming has a lot of marketing dollars behind it. And that definitely can help make a game sell a lot of copies. Whether that's a good game or not, through marketing, you can make it sell a lot of copies. But if you work on making your game really good, it will spread through word of mouth. And then if you ever want to turn on the marketing jets, you can go for it, and it'll really be successful. So it sounds like you've got a good plan for that. But out of all the options as far as a blockchain to put Star Atlas on, you chose Solana as your blockchain. What made you choose that particular blockchain over others?
I love Solana. Let me just one final point on the previous topic too is, with respect to our go-to-market strategy, we really were focused on the blockchain ecosystem, the crypto natives that are already familiar with things like a MetaMask, right, or an in-browser wallet, or securing private keys, and also, it's important for people to understand that we're still in the earliest phases of development on this, and we are building two products at the same time. We're building an in-browser game that will be more immediately available for players to engage in gameplay loops, but also earn those financial rewards. And then we're also building out this, the really, really big vision, which we're developing out in Unreal Engine, which will be that fully immersive VR-enabled cinematic experience for the players. So, but it was important for us that we don't go start spending a ton of money on marketing, attracting the mainstream gamer when we don't really have the mainstream gamer product yet. So we're just very strategic about, who we approach and what cohorts we're working with. And, there are many. There's everything from like the traditional gamer, the play to earner, the entrepreneur, and the list of like demographic of potential participants in Star Atlas just goes on and on and on. But I really do see what we're building is having global appeal. And the example of that is really what Axie pioneered with play to earn. And that is, developing nations where the standard of living is substantially lower. Like dollars per day mean a lot in some countries. And if we can enable a player base of individuals, we can actually eliminate the friction of geographic borders, because now they can enter into this digital realm, this digital world, and find it or seek employment. Right. And now there's no friction between what the standard of living is, because it's open, competitive ecosystem for everyone. So we do see that those developing nations as being a major demographic that will be involved in Star Atlas. But kind of segueing from that into why Solana, that's kind of the key point, is that we believe that this could be a game adopted by the global audience and could potentially see billions of users in the future, at least tens of millions to hundreds of millions, I would say at the least. And so we needed a chain that was highly scalable. And not only that, we needed one that had low transaction costs. So Solana checked all the boxes on that one. It was high transaction throughput at greater than 50,000 transactions per second, less than a penny per transaction, sub-second finality on state changes because they have a really unique consensus algorithm that they've implemented. And beyond that, it's also a layer 1. So they're actually accomplishing this high degree of scalability on the base protocol without having to implement things like sharding or layer 2 to make it more functional. We can actually do it all on the base layer, which we felt was very important. The team is great. And we also saw that it was an opportunity for us to get involved early with a protocol that we believed had a lot of potential, and be able to kind of mutually benefit one another. So when we were talking to the Solana team back in August of last year, there were maybe 20 projects, maybe 25 projects that had publicly been building on top of Solana at the time. And so they were very willing to support us and help promote us and help bring visibility and optics to what we were building. So seeing that as the potential and kind of catching the wave of Solana was a very attractive aspect for us. And then finally, just to be frank, there was this endorsement from the people behind FTX and Alameda Research, Sam Bankman-Fried. He's part of a committee that, ultimately developed out Project Serum and Serum Dex tools, which were super important for us to have given the financial mechanic component that we wanted in our game. But seeing that endorsement gave me a lot of confidence that we were moving in the right direction. And I think, in hindsight, that was one of the better decisions that we've made. Obviously, Solana is just exploding right now. The growth and development around Solana is exploding. And all of these individual creators and entrepreneurs from around the world that are building out products on Solana, they actually directly benefit us at Star Atlas. And we also directly benefit all of them because we're building this user base. And if we take one of the tools like Jet Protocol, which is a decentralized lending protocol, where we could even essentially finance ships for players that don't have capital to get in initially, we could provide an on-chain loan for them to purchase a ship, keep it all collateralized in escrow via smart contracts so they can't actually go and dump the ship or, abscond with the funds, but provide them with a ship that they can then go start earning from and pay that back over time. Now, I don't know that we want to do that. We don't want indentured servitude in Star Atlas, but I'm just saying things like this are opportunities, and we don't actually have to develop out the protocol ourselves. We can just partner with groups like Jet Protocol, right? Or like we did with Radium, which is a decentralized exchange, liquidity pool, AMM, and farm. We can just partner with all of these people that are innovating and implement it into the game. And now we have all of these features that we didn't have to build, and it benefits everybody, right? And we bring the user base to all of those platforms as well. So they also benefit. So it's just this very synergistic, mutually beneficial relationship that we have with the Solana ecosystem. And again, I could not be happier that we chose them.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said something there at the end, is that you will be benefiting the Solana ecosystem as well, because I think you will bring a lot, and I really mean quite a few, new users into the Solana ecosystem that maybe weren't there previously. Even if they were involved in crypto already, they might have not been involved in Solana. So I think you will be doing as much for the Solana ecosystem as they might be doing to help you out. And you're right. It seems like you kind of took the bait there whenever I said it really is a good blockchain for this. I think a lot of the ways that it works are kind of tailored to what you're needing. It really does meet your needs. So let's talk about the actual release. You obviously started pre-sale and people can already, buy ships and things like that, even drop down $5 million if they really wanted to get a expensive ship, or them and their best buddies can get an expensive ship. But for actually a in-game playable game, you're looking at, is it still early Q2 of 2022 as your release date?
So it's difficult to define like what is the actual gaming experience, and people draw a lot of parallels between us and Star Citizen. So I just want to kind of put that out there that we don't intend to be this game that I guess I don't know. I don't want to say never gets complete, but at the same time, that is kind of part of the vision. When I'm talking about a public utility that can evolve in perpetuity, well, clearly that needs to change over time to maintain people's attention, right? From our standpoint, as I said, we're launching 2 products. Within the next 4 to 6 weeks, people will be able to deploy their ships in a ship mission concept inside our web browser minigame. what's, some of the cool mechanics that we're introducing there is that you can even multiplayer queue and pool your assets together and take on bigger and bigger missions, which is accompanied clearly with bigger and bigger rewards. Players are also able to form their own fleet and take a fleet into a mission and decide which ships they want to include in any particular mission, given the mission type. So this experience is coming up, as I said, 4 to 6 weeks. I'll caveat that and just mention we are pioneers here. We're on the bleeding edge of technology. We are doing research and development every single day. And so naturally, if a delay happens, it's not because we're not working. It's because we're working with brand new technology. We're pre-alpha. We're operating on a beta blockchain with beta decentralized exchange tech. And, this stuff is complex. So with that being said, 4 to 6 weeks, ship missions start, and then iteratively for the remainder of the year, going into Q1, we'll have things like land development where you can place mining equipment on, you can extract ore. The ore becomes a component of this gameplay loop where you can actually craft your own NFTs. You have to collect the materials necessary and refine the materials. But it's a true supply chain. And once you have those materials in a blueprint for a ship, you're able to mint that ship. And you can either fly it or you can turn around and sell it on the decentralized marketplace. And then also orbital space stations, kind of a crafting loop as well, but it's platform based, and you can expand your space station to include that fueling deck. You can have a refinery on there. You can have a trading deck. You can have a hangar bay. And as you build out these platforms, if you enable it, other players can come and use them. And say somebody wants to park their ship at your space station overnight, they pay you a fee. This is all cryptographic, right? So it's just crypto being exchanged, Atlas in this case. They pay the fee to you and they park their ship overnight, and now it's safe. So that's the third main gameplay loop. And then probably in the beginning of 2022, we'll have the namesake of the game, which is the Star Atlas. That is the map of the entire universe, which we'll deliver in a 3D experience in browser. Now, concurrently, we're building out in Unreal Engine. We have an entire production team working in Unreal Engine right now. And we think that there's a possibility that we'll release a module related to UE that is a showroom concept. So, is it a game? You're not necessarily flying around in space and attacking people and, shooting people, but you will be in 3D. Don't know if it'll be VR enabled right now, but you'll be able to walk around the showroom, participate in ship configuration and essentially ship shopping. And then you can purchase those assets as well. And, ideally, this will be a little place where people can socialize also. So even if you're just hanging out, you're hanging out with other people in the digital world, maybe even looking at a ship together. Maybe you're all on you're essentially all on voice chat and deciding, hey, how do we want to configure this ship for our guild? We need a ship that can host 100 people because our guild's 100 people strong. We can all live on this one ship. So how should we configure it, right? Things like this. So that's coming up potentially as early as end of December this year. And then major other gameplay modules will be released, probably every 6 months is kind of the target, but we'll see how it goes. But other gameplays loops will start getting introduced to Unreal Engine, mid 2022 to your earlier point.
Man, that sounds awesome. I'll tell you what it reminds me of is Walt Disney, before Disneyland was opened, he said the quote that it will never be finished. And as I think about Disneyland or Disney World, if you ask Joe Blow about, that's about to visit there, they would say, oh, of course, it's a completed, theme park. And, but that's not the case. They're always adding to it. They're always tinkering with it, making a new exhibit, making a new ride, making a new something. It never is finished. And I'm hearing the same thing from you from Star Atlas. Always you could be changing the, slightly modifying, slightly improving things within the game to be able to make it, better than it is whenever it is released in, than it is now, or than it's going to be next year. So there's always some improvement that it seems like that you're wanting to do, which I think is really great. And again, changes the way that we think about gaming. A lot of what you're doing is changing the way that we think about gaming, which, everybody's on the cutting and bleeding edge if you're listening to this. And it's a good time to be able to try to get in something neat like this if you're interested in blockchain gaming. Now's the time where I can hear, do I have a little drum roll or something? Yeah. Now's the time where you can go ahead and put in your questions to where you can have Michael Wagner pick a few of your questions. And if he can pick 5 of them, if you will go ahead and pick 5 questions from the community here, I've given them the green light, so they're putting in a few of them in there. If you can pick 5 questions to answer from them, we will contact them and get them $20 in DAI. While you're reading over those questions, Michael, I'm going to talk about Moon Willie a little bit to give you a chance to look over them and kind of scroll through. So the Moon Willie token, if you're in here and you're kind of following Michael around the internet and you just listen to everything he says and you're like, what even is this room? Well, this is the moonwillie.com podcast. Moon Willie is an auto rewards token that 8% of every transaction that's done is converted to the stablecoin DAI, the pinned to the US dollar stablecoin DAI. So every transaction, 8% is converted to DAI and then distributed amongst the holders of Moon Willie by how many tokens of Moon Willie you hold. Now, you may say, oh, that sounds really cool. That would really help me out in an up or a down market. And you would be correct. But right now there's a migration between version 1 and version 2, moving to a new contract, Moon Willie is. So I kind of said that like Yoda, moving to a new contract, Moon Willie is. So whenever that happens, whenever the migration has finally occurred, what we're waiting on right now is a CERTIC audit. And that's right. Moon Willie's going for the best of the best as far as audits are concerned. A CERTIC audit will be done for the Moon Willie version 2 contract. And when that's done, you will get instructions of what to do. And then you can purchase on version 2 and become yourself a Moon Willionaire and get those DAI rewards as well as everything else. So check out moonwillie.com. You can see all the podcasts that we've had before, all the AMAs that we've had before. And maybe most importantly, you can see the roadmap that has been put out before. We have these podcasts every Monday through Friday at 1800 UTC. I, Stephen, the voice of DeFi, is on here. Kevin, who is the founder of the Moon Willie token, is around on here. Achi, we've got a whole group of people that are very transparent with what they do, and they'll be right here to ask, verbally or in text, questions daily, right here, Monday through Friday, 1800 UTC. And we also do a lot of these AMAs that are great and give you a chance to win $20 in DAI if your question is selected. So, Mr. Wagner, have you been able to look over these questions and find you a few of them that you think would be worthy of you answering them?
I have, and we do have limited time, so I do have an engagement after this. So I'm going to respond to them relatively quickly here.
No problem.
One final point on that last topic is that if we do this right, in the initiation, in inception of Star Atlas and the release of Star Atlas, there will be no requirement for us to be the exclusive developer on it in the future. And in fact, we might be completely gone out of the picture at some point. And, I don't know if it's 10 years, 20 years, or 30 years down the line, but it will be a public product that anybody can create within and around. So that's if we do it right. And that's where our goal is. All right, so let's see. Platform's able to generate a huge amount of data speaking about user preferences, strategies, and behaviors. Yeah, I mean, it's a less talked about aspect of the game, but we're actually, we are very AI driven and data oriented in our decision making. And so we will be collecting a lot of information about general player behaviors. And I don't want this to sound like we're, kind of getting into big data or like a Facebook type play, but we want to understand human behavior in general. And we think that the results of this grand experiment of Star Atlas will give us a lot of information about better ways to govern, better ways to develop economies, and better ways for humans to interact with one another from a social standpoint. And we can leverage the information that we extract from the game, not for our own monetary benefit, but rather to improve the physical world. Right. So if we are able to create a better governance structure in the game that works very well in a decentralized format, there would be no reason why that couldn't be implemented in the real world and replace, politics as we see it today. So that's Excellent. That question.
Thank you.
And I'm just trying to find these again. A lot of questions coming in here. So let me see. 2, how can users stay updated? I like this one just because it's quick, but also, as I said, our Discord is a rapidly growing community. Clans are already recruiting, guilds are recruiting players. They're forming strategy now. The community members there are super helpful to other players, educating those other players. And, I have to halfway apologize. You probably just hear these notifications dinging off in the background left and right. And that's pretty much all day, just the bells are ringing. So we do get enormous amount of messages, right? I'm taking thousands of days and thousands of messages a day. The community's taking tens of thousands of messages a day. So join the Discord. You'll get more help there. People will walk you through. There's some pretty common issues that people are encountering. It's so friendly and helpful and collaborative. So check out Discord. It's discord.gg/StarAtlas. Collaboration with gaming YouTubers. Absolutely. Again, our goal here is just to share this vision with the world, expose it to people all around the world and see what the potential is. So I work with, have been on a number of interviews with guys like Kagi and Jake and Zul'jin, right? So, I mean, I'm trying to do as many of these interviews as possible. These guys are really into gaming. They understand crypto, and it's a bit of a translator of sorts, right? These guys can take information that we're presenting, distill it down. They understand the community and they can inform the community. So I think that's super, super important as a part of this educational process.
Excellent. Hey, you might have already passed it. I can go back to the video, to the audio to find out. I just didn't see who asked that last question.
I put a +3 next to that one, I believe.
Oh, great.
And let's see, or was that +2? That might have been +2. No, sorry. That was national. Was that one? And do you have a question that you see? I would love to answer something that maybe you think the community still wants to know.
Yeah, actually, I do. Let me go back up to it. As a non-gamer, how do I invest in a responsible way in the sector? Would you say buying the Atlas token is a good start?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, guys, we really can't talk about this from like an investment standpoint. We think of you as purchasing assets. You own those assets. It's comparable to owning tangible assets in the real world. If you, as I said, I use the example of rent versus ownership. So if you're renting a house, you get to live in that house while you're paying the rent. But when you leave, you don't get to take any of the value that may have accrued after. With Star Atlas, you get to, alternative to that is like if you purchase a house and that house goes up in value, just by way of example of like price appreciation in real estate, same kind of dynamic exists with Star Atlas where you're actually purchasing and owning things. These things actually can create revenue for you. And at the end, depending on what the demand looks like in the market, the value might actually change on that as well. But I wouldn't necessarily consider it investing. You are still purchasing an asset from us. With that said, one of the areas, categories that I think is going to be very attractive for large like groups to purchase is buying assets that they don't even intend to play with themselves. They might purchase these assets and contribute them to something like a stake pool where other players can pay a fee to borrow them or rent them for a period of time. And again, that's mutually beneficial. The players who don't have the capital to purchase a large ship can borrow it, can earn off of it, and hopefully save up enough over time that they can then buy their own. The person who actually owns the asset now has a way to create these residual cash flows for themselves just off of contributing it to a pool, right? So I think that that's going to see major cash flows come into the metaverse for non-gamers.
Excellent. Well, I know your time is short, so I'll just pick. Would you like me to just pick this last question for you so you can get on your way?
Sure. Let's do the last one.
Yeah, and that's just: are you working to audit your project to make it more secure and reliable?
Sure. I mean, a lot of the smart contracts that we're using right now have already been audited through the Solana Foundation. So we have confidence in those. But as we continue to develop out on-chain features and gameplay modals on-chain, we will, of course, get those contracts audited by the best security firms in the business.
Awesome. Well, it has been fantastic being able to speak with you. There you go, a little bit of applause. You have blown my mind in a lot of what this can be and what even blockchain gaming can be in general. I really appreciate you coming in and sharing your knowledge with us.
I loved it, man. Great questions. Really enjoyed the conversation. Thanks for the opportunity to get up here, and we'll have to do this again sometime.
Thanks for listening to the official Moonwilly podcast. Don't forget to head to moonwilly.com and learn more about this exciting token.
This podcast is not financial advice. Do not take anything said in this podcast as advice for buying or selling any crypto, stock, index, or other trading tool. You should do your own research or seek the help of a trained financial advisor. This is for entertainment only. The information contained in or provided from or through this podcast is not intended to be and does not constitute financial advice, investment advice, trading advice, or any advice.